Okay. Next up, this week I watched Attack on Titan season two. Season three is currently airing, but I just never got around to season two for some reason. Even though it was definitely in the plans. And I watched the entire season in like 2 days because it was only 12 episodes and it was that gripping. Um, so I wrote some notes so I could do this in a timely manner. So just to preface, I don't think Joe has ever watched Attack on Titan. Oh God, why would you do
God
this to
damn.
us?
I tried to mute my mic
You
and
did
I
it.
saw that the light did not turn off and I was like, oh no, they're gonna hate me.
Oh man. Well, you just made our whole audience deaf. So
I'm so sorry.
all three people out there, you
You
can
can
sue
bleep it
Bradley.
like it's a curse word.
Beep. Okay, so Joe hasn't watched Attack on Titan as far as I know.
I've seen
And
the first season. I have not
okay,
seen anything past it.
okay, so he's watched a lot of Attack on Titan. I
I
lied.
mean, I also read a decent bit of Attack on Titan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah,
Um,
I
Bradley
don't remember any of it.
Bradley watched 4 episodes, which, as anyone who has watched the show is kicking themselves at the thought that he didn't watch one more episode. He really should at some point.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I tried watching the first 4 episodes or so, and I tried reading about that far in the manga, and I heard so many people like, oh dude, like even from episode one, like holy shit, this is the coolest thing ever. And this was even back when uh it took a lot less for an anime to impress me, and I don't know, for some it just wasn't clicking with me. I hear it's the coolest thing ever. Um, I don't anticipate revisiting it soon, but I don't know, maybe eventually.
So I will say the reason why I jumped off the bandwagon for it was, uh, it just felt like they were piling stacks and stacks and stacks of just mystery on top of itself, and just kind of holding off from
Ooh, boy, I got a
answering
season
anything.
two for you. That's the best
Uh,
part of season two is how much shit is answered.
uh,
Um,
I don't know, because the thing is, like, if I remember correctly of what I read in season, that should be most of what season two was, and it was just like mysteries on top of itself, and it's just like,
they pretty much told you how Titans, where they come from, which is like the biggest mystery.
Yeah, it's when
And
a mommy titan and a daddy titan
well,
love
they
each
don't
other
have
very much.
genitalia, so doesn't work for them.
so I guess then, like,
They
I didn't read that far.
no, the
But
thing
like
is
I
they're
read for like I saw it
restructuring.
like a year, and I like past season one when it, like I started right where season one ended and kept reading for like another like year, and that never got answered for me unless I
So
miss.
this is
Yeah.
an anime thing where the manga moves at a terrible pace from what I've heard, and is just
Mhm.
overall not a great read sometimes. But what the anime does is it restructures stuff where it puts flashbacks and like stuff way ahead and just straight up answers some questions. And even the ending was a spoiler for even manga readers at the time, where they're like, "Hey, like the show ending, the ED as it's called, had like
Yeah.
spoilers for even manga readers." So like that
You
they're
know what?
really fixing some stuff.
That's actually a really interesting thing with Attack on Titan because I feel like for almost every anime ever, the people who read the manga will be like, "Oh, dude, you got to read the manga; it's so much better." But I don't know if I've ever heard that sentiment for Attack on Titan. People are like, "No, the anime is awesome."
I've heard it a little bit. It's just, the anime's too good, man. It's hard to pass up.
I might jump on season two because I remember reading the manga and being like, this is good, but it's also just slow.
You got to the point where they revealed Colossal and Armor Titan, right? Because that's
Yeah, I know who those are.
they
I got
formally
that
revealed
far.
it, right? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll talk about that a
but
little
like
later.
um, I don't remember. Like it just felt like things were just kept on being introduced and at a pace where like there's not enough other payoffs. Like One Piece does this where like it introduces some things, but
It'll
like it also like reveals or like explains other things previously at a reason. There's like a good stagger, you know.
okay. Uh, to get to, I was gonna say about Bradley's point. I think it's bad at the start. So I reject both of those things you've heard a lot of. Maybe it was an earlier time, but I don't think it starts particularly well. I hate the school life vibe that like it kind of has. It's very
Yeah,
different.
that's probably one of the things that threw me off.
It's more military training
Yeah.
vibe. That goes out
it
of the
really
way
is.
pretty quick. I'd say like midway through season 1.
Oh yeah,
God,
yeah,
even I think like even episode 9, it's probably gone by then. When the main
episode
character,
9.
like episode 9, where that's around the time where Eren starts doing things, right? Because that I feel like that's when that aspect kind of peters
Oh,
off a
I
little bit.
I was thinking more of the when they have to like when they finally get their positions and they're on the wall and things start going down. And then like really like between the first episode, which is kind of like a prequel prologue episode, and the next Titan attack, that area is just kind of character introductions for like 2 or 3 episodes, and then like, all right, now we're gonna start the story.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like.
yeah. And then I also don't think it's the greatest thing ever, like some people said. So just to measure, but all right, I get to finally out of the way. I get to talk about season 2. So season 1 has. I'm going to talk about season 2. So season 1 has a really strong second half. The arc that plays out in the second half is genuinely like 5 out of 5. But because of the first half, I'd probably give it like evens out to a 4 out of 5. Right. Everything in season 2 I loved. So just off the bat, the opening and the ending, always great as always. Especially that ending, man. It gives you such a creepy vibe. Definitely worth watching, even if you don't watch anything else, just to get your mind racing a little bit. The imagery they show is really interesting.
I'll say the music from Attack on Titan, even from someone who doesn't really watch it, it's pretty easily recognizable. I hear it all the time. People put it over just about anything.
While we're talking about that, just production value wise, Attack on Titan might be one of the best animated series out there right now. I'm sure there's some other stuff that I don't know, but just Attack on Titan's animation is fucking stellar, dude. I should show you some clips later. They go all out, and it really that it's just a joy to watch the action scenes, and the production values with like music playing in certain scenes, like emotional scenes, like also really works really well. So season 2 from the get-go has a really good setup where there's this mystery where there's Titans inside one of the layers of the wall, but they can't find a hole that they breached from. And the whole season kind of revolves around what happened here, as well as answering some of the mysteries that started at the very end of season 1. And all of that gets covered. Talked about the animation. So there's a new enemy introduced in this season. Joe, you would know him. Harry
Monkey
Boy.
Man.
Yeah. He has a really good entrance, and it just shifts the tone of the series like immediately, I feel, with him. And
He comes up and just like crushes a Titan or something, if I remember correctly.
he kills a pretty like this series is worse than Game of Thrones at killing people. Like no one is safe except for like the obvious plot armor 4 or 5 characters. Aside from that, everyone you love is gonna die at some point. It's very soul crushing. So my problem with Attack on Titan has always kind of been the characters and the tone. And the tone of Attack on Titan that really bothers me is that it's overly dark and edgy sometimes. I'd probably use the word edgy a lot. Where
That was another thing that kind of turned me off, is that like
absolutely, yeah.
it's very gloomy.
Yeah, gloomy. That's a good word too. It's just like every character needs to have a dark turn. Like everyone needs to be kind of an anti-hero.
It feels very grimdark.
Yeah.
And like I've told this before, but I think grimdark is better used as like a satire material than it is a setting. As someone who plays Warhammer,
Yeah, Joe was explaining that the other day, and I think he had a really good point.
Because it's just like it's very hard to write about characters when they're in a world that you know cannot change, and it becomes very futile to root, and it becomes like, well, why would I root for these characters? I think the one that in like Game of Thrones, like the books at least teeter very much on the edge of that.
I don't think they do. Like it's
I don't
it's
think
very
it's
neutral.
either, but it gets pretty close sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just Attack on Titan, like especially like when you're really introduced to the show, you're like, oh wow, everything's just fucked, like from inside and out. Like
Right.
there's shit going on inside the walls, and there's shit going on outside the walls, and like there's no really big hope for the characters in this.
It's
And
not a fully hopeless situation, but it is such a grim one.
Yeah.
It's some people are into that, and it also makes sense, but like it gets so obnoxious sometimes where like you really just roll your eye at the darkness of it all, where it's like, I like me some dark characters, but when everyone has to kind of take that turn and the whole setting is in that field, I kind of have to roll my eyes at it.
It's really it's funny because like the only way you can tell something's really dark is when there's something light next to it.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's nothing like next to it that's kind of like light, like there's no funny moments, nothing to break that tension, like then you're just kind of like, oh well, everything's at a tense point, so it really doesn't matter.
And like Attack on Titan tries, it has some really sweet, like good-hearted characters, but even they're all gonna go down a dark path. It's starting to get pretty obvious from where I am.
It seems like a lot of times nowadays, a lot of people don't like the like goody two shoes. Like, I don't know, just like someone who's just a genuinely good person, like a Superman or a Peter Parker or something.
Mm-hmm. Cap.
You know, people. It seems like the trend nowadays is people like it when everybody kind of has that more darker side or whatever. But if your story has none of those people who are just like just genuinely good people,
or someone that like sets the standard of what a good person is,
it'll kind of fall into that. Okay, well, things are just horrible, and sometimes it doesn't feel like there's any hope they'll get better.
And Attack on Titan kind of tries. I mean, hey. So okay, this is a problem. One of the examples I was going to bring up is like this girl's about to die, and out of nowhere she's like, "No, Daddy, don't beat me!" And it's like, oh, she was abused as a child. This didn't add anything to her character. It
just happens that one time.
It just happens that one time so that the death can be more horrifying. And it's just like, ugh, there's so much, like, every once in a while the show will sneak that in. But, okay, Season 2 in general, though, handles all of that a lot better. I hate the main character, and he's a lot better in Season 2. He's a lot more tempered with his fucking annoying-ass piece of shit personality.
Super stupid.
The show is carried by a character named Armin for me. I'm pretty much in it for him, basically, character-wise. Because he's the least edgy of the group, though he's definitely going, like, I can already predict his character path in Season 3, and, like, I'm not going to like him by the end of Season 3. But for where I am right now, he's, like, a great character, and he's the tactician of the group, and he's really smart, and he's less edgy than the rest. As much as I hate Eren, I think I hate Mikasa even more. I think she's fucking garbage. Even if she has cool moments, a lot of people won't like me saying that because she's actually a big fan favorite.
She has some really cool action moments.
Oh, she's badass for sure.
But she has some very Mary Sue moments, like reflecting on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like she's like one of like 2 or 3 people in the entire series that can like consistently kill a Titan like without any help, and she's able to do it like right as soon as she graduates, and you're just like, okay.
I mean, she's badass, but that's not she's not much of a character. All she cares about is Eren and kind of Armin a little bit, but really all she cares about is Eren, and it gets so obnoxious. She's so one note. Ugh.
The classic anime trope about
I love my boy. Okay, moving on. There's this amazing, because we're already over the time limit I thought I would go for my notes, because so Season 2 has one of the best twist reveals I've ever seen in anything, where there's just some people talking and they drop the biggest mystery of the series. They're just like, hey, here's the answer to this mystery that the whole season, I think
I know what you're talking about, because I remember reading the manga and like I'm reading through it, and then I flipped the page. I'm like, hold on, and I had to go back. Like,
you had to do a double take because it was that nonchalant, and this other character involved. He's like, "Are we seriously doing this right now?" It was
like, what are you doing?
absolutely perfect. But what's really good about Attack on Titan's mysteries is, one, they have the One Piece style where like they're really well planned out early ahead. Maybe they're not done to the expertise that Oda does it, but you can tell this is a guy who knows what he's doing with his mysteries, because you go back, there's so many hints to that reveal. Mm-hmm. It's actually really interesting.
Like the first, I think season 1 has like the first kind of reveal about a Titan.
Yes.
And like going back, you can go like, oh wow, yeah, that makes sense.
This
like, you can, like,
this season 2 reveal ties into that too. Oh yeah. Wow, yeah, the animations, I remember that. And it's just, what's really nice about the mysteries is like whenever you're ahead of the mystery, you're like, I hope they catch up. And they do catch up, but then they also reveal that when they caught up, they were ahead of you, and they thought of stuff that you didn't even think about, and they're already on top of handling that stuff. And it makes you outsmart the show, and then the show also outsmarts you, and it's pretty organic with all that. It's one of my favorite aspects of it is the plot and the mystery. Mm-hmm. There's a really cool fight midway through the season. A lot of karate moves are thrown. Really good shit. There's a line that goes, I don't think anyone in history has done something as bad as you. And it's such a powerful line because it's so true, and the things that this character that the line is directed to have done are so disgusting, but it's not in an edgy way like a lot of the show happens to be. It's a really interesting. He's one of the characters that I really like in the show. If I had to pick like characters I actually like out of the whole bunch, Armin would be first. There's a character called Erwin who is he's probably the closest you get to your shining beacon of hope and justice. The Colossal and Armor Titans are really interesting characters. And then Annie and Ymir. Ymir? I don't know how to say her name, but they're also pretty cool. Ymir. That's all I got for season 2. That's an easy 5 out of 5. I really like the season.
I might pick it up again because I think the biggest thing for me was that I felt like you said before, the manga was just moving at such a slow pace. I felt like nothing was getting resolved. Mm-hmm. And like I can understand like things not getting resolved for a while, but you have to keep interest in some way. But if they fix that in terms of pacing, then I might.
From what I hear, for sure. Like I can almost definitively tell you exactly where Titans come from and all the implications of what's going on behind that. It like they pretty much go ahead of time and tell you all these things.
Yeah, yeah.
So I started season 3 as well. I only watched 2 or 3 episodes. I'm already liking this one less. Because first of all, there's a subplot where a character can't use their power, like Spider-Man 2, except Spider-Man 2 is a good movie throughout it all, but that's one of my least favorite tropes. And the series has moved on from apocalyptic mysteries to human politic interactions, and it's not quite, because I'm not invested in the characters, I think it's not quite that engaging, but I think it won't be super bad as long as it ties into the mysteries well, which I think it will. Super bad. That's all I got. Let's wrap this up because it went on a little bit.